Welcome to episode number 1 of Prospect, Produce, and Prosper. I am Jon Gay. I'm joined by Marc Rogers of Producers Prospect. Marc, great to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We touched on some of these things a little bit in the trailer. We're going to dig a little bit deeper here in our first episode, and that's a little bit about your background and really how uniquely positioned you are at Producers Prospect to help financial advisors from working in the trenches to staying on top of all the latest trends. I guess we'll start with what makes you different and how you got started.
Sure. I've been absolutely blessed with a series of mentors in my career who took an interest in me and wanting to really help my career push it forward. And so it really started as a young kid working with one of the founding fathers, one of the biggest mentors in our entire financial service industry when it comes to annuities. And that's Doug McDermott. He's kind of known as the creator of the equity indexed annuity, or one of the first to the game in the United States. And he happened to be a personal family friend that brought me into the business. And so I've been around top producers across the country since I got started. And I think the biggest and unique thing that I have to take away is the fact that I've gathered all of the best practices, ideas from everybody, and I've really consolidated it and put it into a simplified process that can be completely turnkey for the financial advisor today. I think that in our industry, we are truly lacking systems and processes that work and are constantly updated with market trends. You can take a really good financial advisor, and he may be the smartest guy in the world making the best decisions for his investors, but he's probably a terrible marketer, right? And you look at our industry, and it's an aging industry.
Yeah.
It really is, right? And I think that most of my competitors, I like to say, were built in the 1900s and are still marketing like they're the 1900s. So I've really gotten on the forefront of digital marketing and certainly how the pandemic has changed processes, but kind of going forward, what's going to be the best ways to attract your ideal client, your best client that you want to work with. And we just got to be different today. The world of just showing up and buying dinner for a big group of people that had no idea who you were, but they got a postcard in the mail. And now they're coming to that Fleming's Ruth Chris, and they're going to buy after the first meeting. Like, that's literally gone away.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that live seminars or dinner seminars don't work. They actually can work, but we got to be different. We got to be forward thinking, and you got to have a digital presence. So I want to be that guy that takes financial services, simply put, into the next phase in the market. And a lot of my top advisors, I'm working with the 40-somethings. I can take guys fresh, off the desk from a wirehouse and completely explode their business and take them into the new world and have them really grow their practice. I can take an old dog that is ready to learn some new tricks. I can grow their business too. So I'm really excited about what we're doing. I am a inch wide, mile deep with every one of my advisors. I don't want to have thousands of guys that I work with. I want to have quality advisors that are truly wanting to more fully develop their practice, and I want to focus on them.
So I think you have this picture in your head of like Wolf of Wall Street or Leonardo DiCaprio and like how it was. I was born in 1980. I'm 41 years old. The 80s were 40 years ago. It's really changed a lot. We don't watch movies the same way. We've got Netflix and HBO Max and these great sound systems and televisions in our homes. We don't listen to the radio. We're here doing a podcast. Grocery delivery and Amazon instead of going to a store to buy something. Every single industry has changed a lot in the last 40, 20, 10, 5, 2 years, especially with the pandemic. And I love that you are really thinking about how to do things differently, how to change things up, how to bring this financial services world into the 21st century, the 2020s decade, 2022, as we slowly, fingers, eyes, and toes crossed, start to come out of the pandemic and all that. But I think another point to mention is you are an advisor yourself. You know what it's like to be in the trenches doing this kind of stuff.
That's right. I try to say that my business is built off of I've tried everything. So good news is before you spend a bunch of money, I've already spent that money and worked out the kinks. During COVID, I did something like 200 webinars. And as we were kind of talking offline before, I've seen some of the biggest disasters at the very beginning. And now, we're pre-recording everything. Webinars have become a fantastic way to brand yourself and give you something online that is on demand and people can come to, and you can do it really high end and professionally done that is not going to break the piggy bank today, but it is another resource and people are tuning into and watching, and it's shorter segments. I mean, my average webinar lasts, I think, 20 minutes.
Wow.
We can drive people monthly, new people, prospects that you've never met before. I've got advisors now that are working 100% virtual with their ideal clients all across the marketplace. So it's not, how close to my office and I got to just work in that area. I've got advisors closing business sitting in St. Louis, and they're working with clients in Miami and Chicago and all across the country. So this is a great business, and I am really excited about the new year and the things to come as we will continue to upload new systems, processes for advisors. And we're really catching a momentum right now because I think the marketplace is also giving us the opportunity to educate people that way. And let's just face it, as we enter 2022, there's a lot of question marks in the marketplace. People are searching for education.
Yes.
And my firm does a bunch of surveys. One of the surveys came back that your investors today now want to be connected with their advisor at least once a month or more.
Wow.
So the world of just showing up one time and doing an annual review with your client, that's gone. Sending a birthday card, that's gone. And what's happened is we got to deliver a podcast to our clients. We have to deliver webinars and white papers and content, and you got to have a YouTube page, and your Facebook content and story and process has to match your website today. And now websites are developing. There's no more of the virtual business card that we got lost in the 2010s. Now you got to have capture, you got to have flash, you got to have your podcast hooked to your website. So all of these things are systems and processes that we can break down and really help you get started and get going if you haven't, or if you're already trying to do them, we can help more effectively and really help clean up that system.
And I think as we go through the podcast here, we're going to be sharing lots of different ideas that you've, tried and tested and proved that financial advisors listening to the podcast can take advantage of. But I want to give you a real world example for me as a consumer. Full disclosure, I am not a financial advisor. I am a former radio DJ turned podcast host. But here's what I can tell you as a consumer. Again, 41 years old. My wife and I had a financial advisor who was literally down the street from us. I think he was 1.5 miles from the house. Really nice guy. We liked him. Our investments were doing well with him. And we had an annual review with him 2-3 months ago. And he talked about our investments and where our money is and, what mutual funds and what's doing what and our IRAs and our Roths and all this kind of stuff. And then my wife asked him some questions about our future and our plans. And, hey, we're thinking about this as a goal. We would like to think about this. We would like to maybe do this. And he didn't have a real strong answer for us. And I don't want to cast aspersions on him, but we decided, you know what? We want to work with an advisor that we can talk about a 360-degree view with. We want to talk with somebody that we can say, hey, this is something we'd like to do in the next 5 years, something in the next 10 years. We'd like to get into a bigger house. What age do we want to theoretically retire based on our income? All these big picture things. And our new financial advisor, haven't met him in person yet, just did 2 Zoom calls with him on a recommendation from our CPA. So really being where you are. So when I was in radio, I was at one point in my career, I worked in Burlington, Vermont. And in Vermont, billboards actually are illegal because it, hurts nature and all that kind of stuff. So in 2007, I said to my boss, hey, we need a Facebook page. No, we're a radio station. What do we need a Facebook page for? And I said, listen, if you could have a billboard on the interstate with your morning show's faces on it, would you? Well, yeah, of course I would. Why? Because I want to be where my listeners are. And I said, Ben, that's why we need a Facebook page. And fast forward 15 years, Mark, this is exactly what you're talking about, being where your listeners are. Grandma and grandpa have figured out how to use Zoom. They might have some health conditions with COVID. They may not want to leave the house. You might have younger people, as we record this January 5th and Omicron is raging, you might have younger people that aren't comfortable meeting in person or just prefer the convenience of Zoom and not having to get in the car and go somewhere. All these tools are where your potential clients are, and it's kind of about meeting them where they are, right?
100%. I mean, just to go along with what you're saying, now you can hook into your doctor, right, on an iPad.
Yeah.
From the comfort of your own home, and meds can be sent and you can go pick those up.
Or delivered to your doorstep even.
Or delivered to your doorstep. That's right. So the world is changing. It's adapting. People expect education quicker, faster, and have a better connection with somebody. And I think if done correctly, things like a podcast, a webinar, or really being dialed into having a great camera and being able to know what and how to do Zoom properly, because there's still such bad habits in people.
I am not a cat. I am not a cat. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, that's right. You know, and I've got a Doberman, right? So I deal with the same type of, he's barking in the backyard. It feels like he's sitting right next to me barking. So we're still working through all that. But to your point, John, it really needs to be accessible. And I'm even talking about, you got a referral from your CPA. Mm-hmm. So you took that very seriously. Obviously, you met with them and you went forward. But I'm guessing, and we haven't talked about this, but I'm guessing you went and probably searched him before that first Zoom call to make sure that he was real. Did you not?
I mean, people Google someone before a first date. Of course we Googled the financial advisor. We wanted to see what kind of a digital footprint he had.
That's right. So here's the key to everything that we're going to talk about on this podcast. And I'm going to bring some of the biggest advisors onto our podcast as another third host. And we'll pick a bunch of the greatest minds in the industry over this. So I'm really excited. But what you're going to find out is, if you've got a business based on referrals, if you have a business based on seminars, that's great. But everything's going to come back to now a digital presence.
Right.
And what I say to people is, if you don't show up digitally, you literally don't exist today.
Yeah.
So people expect not just even a website. You got to be on Facebook. You got to be where the people are, like you said. You got to be on LinkedIn. You should have a YouTube page. You should have a podcast. All of these things are brand building. They are connecting and educating people. And the expectation is you should be delivering it. People don't want to read an article, in the New York Times that you're simply posting on Facebook. They want an article written by you, their expert, because that's the person that they're working with, right?
Absolutely.
Those are all the things that are going to change the game, and we're going to help you be more referable. We're going to help you work into your ideal client, because the other thing that's great about digital marketing is you and I can drive a podcast about whatever topic, whatever area of expertise, whatever niche that you have, and then we can drive this to the ideal person that's going to be most effective. You and I are going to take this podcast to other great advisors that want to more fully develop their practice, and they're going to listen to this because this fits them. That's a great example of us taking an advisor and saying, who do you want to most work with? Who's your best favorite people? Mm-hmm. And then let's put that person in front of you as many times as we can. That's what we're going to do.
We live in a world where data is currency, and there's so much data out there that can be applicable with your marketing. Let me stop you here for a second, Marc, because I think for a financial advisor listening that really wants to be on top of things in the digital space, and you've kind of just thrown a lot out, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, videos, podcasts, I would imagine for some folks listening, this is a little bit intimidating to think about doing all these things at once. There's only 24 hours in a day. There's only 7 days in a week. What would you say to a financial advisor who is a little overwhelmed by everything you're kind of putting out there right now?
Well, a couple of things. One, it doesn't come without a plan, right?
Okay.
So the classic, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yep.
We do the same thing for you. So the best thing is for an advisor, is I want them focusing on meeting with people all day long. Delegate everything else to my team. We will put together a 30, 60, 90 when we sit down.
Okay.
And we'll have the thought in mind of, where does the practice need to be? And then how do we take it step by step? So we will ground level start with, I've got a PR person and somebody that goes out and looks at you. And so they'll Google you, they'll look at all your sites, they'll look at your advertisements, and then they'll look at all your physical collateral. Like, okay, what are you giving to somebody in the first meeting?
Yeah.
When somebody says, yes, I want to become a client from you, what does that look like? And so it's not just branding today to have a website and, okay, now I got my website, I can go be a real business. It's, how does that all relate back together? And then we'll put a plan together to say, okay, here's where we will start. I think advisors are always worried about, one, how much money and how much time is it going to take from me?
Right.
I don't know where to start. Do I need to hire a bunch of staff to get this going? And then I think that there's also a level of compliance, right? I'm going to be out in front of the media. I'm going to be out in front of everybody. Am I saying the right stuff? Is somebody going to make sure that we're staying protected with it and working with the compliance departments? We do all of that stuff. So whether we're writing an article for you or doing a Facebook ad or we're going to go live and do a big dinner event. All of that is things that we will work with you on, totally turnkey, and you let us do it and delegate it to us, and we'll make it simple for you.
I love that you have these systems in place, because I think for a lot of advisors, it might be them and maybe an admin in their office, or maybe it might be just them in some cases.
Sure.
Knowing that you have a team to handle all these different moving parts, I think is a really great selling point for Producer's Prospect, because you are making the process, like you said, turnkey, and letting the advisor focus on what they need to focus on when it comes to their clients and finding more clients. Let me talk to you about the pandemic a little bit. Here we are again, beginning of January 22, so we're almost 2 years into this thing, and the world has been turned on its ear. Please shot me with a cattle prod if I say new normal or anything like that. But
sure, I got it.
How has the world of marketing as a financial advisor specifically changed over the last 22 months or so? And what are some of the best advisors doing?
Sure. I think it goes back to sort of what we've been talking about this whole time, which is people now feel more comfortable with meeting with you on Zoom. So it's not as scary. So, the best advisors have really adapted their skill set on how to get on Zoom and walking people through it, how they're confirming their investors who feel more comfortable with getting on Zoom. So really adapting the new age of making it easier to work within. This has really helped in cutting down paperwork, because advisors were so worried, how am I going to get an application or a packet to somebody, and are they going to sign it and send it back? And, now we've gone all digital with our applications and paperwork and things like that. So from a new business standpoint, it's really changed. It's really become more efficient. We're spending less time on paperwork and more time meeting with people, but it's the online brand. I'll tell you what's changed too is you got to have a story.
Yeah.
What makes you different? What makes you truly unique and different to stand out amongst the crowd? People have got to hear your process. They've got to really understand it. That means that your website has to get better, right? You got to be more involved into your community of doing outreach and writing content and showing up online. I mean, that's what's changed is you have to show up.
And I think part of that is SEO and search engine optimization with Google, because I think for a lot of folks, like you talked about, us Googling our financial advisor once we had the name, I think a lot of folks are probably who don't have a referral are turning to the internet, financial advisors near me, or who are the best financial advisors. Imagine what they're Googling, or Googling something specific related to finance, Roth conversions or 401ks or any of those. You want to have that content on your website so Google knows, hey, this is relevant, this is good content, and I'm going to show this to somebody who's Googling these terms. And again, I know that's where your team is going to help our advisors with.
That's right. The other thing that's changed too, I would say, John, is that if you have been successful in doing one type of marketing, hey, I'm really great at doing seminars. The reality is it's kind of like going out on a boat. You go charter a boat down in Cabo and you want to catch a bunch of fish. Well, you got to have a bunch of lines in the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's interesting is those lines, if we're really after, going and getting tuna, they probably have some of the similar stuff on them, right? At the end of those hooks. But we got to have lots of lines in the water. And I think that's what social's really done. So when you sit down and work with me, it's okay, how does a podcast, how does Facebook ads, how does video content, how do webinars and live events all work collectively together to bring the best person in front of you? That's what we want to accomplish. It's creating multiple lines out in the water, still attracting the same ideal client and doing it in different formats. And though the most successful guys, I would say, John, today are doing just that. They're working multiple lines in the water, but with a super hyper focused on the ideal fish that they want to go catch.
Those lines are getting smarter and smarter, to further your analogy a little bit here, because Facebook knows who you're targeting. Your website knows who has visited your website. All this information is out there about your prospects or your potential clients. The amount of data we have access to is amazing if you know how to use it, and I know that's where your team comes in.
That's right. And all the analytics. I mean, what's great about digital marketing and even podcasting, this is going to sting on from an old radio DJ, right? But where the world has gone and changed to is the fact that we know who's listening.
Yeah.
We know how often they're listening. We know, are they tuning in again? I like to tell people about a podcast. What's changed with podcasting versus my radio guys is Netflix and Hulu.
Yeah.
It's the on-demand. And when you put out a new podcast and somebody subscribed to that podcast, guess what their smartphone tells them?
Hey, there's a new episode. Boom.
There's a new episode. Great. Oh, I got to tune into that when I want to. We can still have all the same call to actions. We can still create all the sense of urgency. Yet now we're so much smarter because we have the analytics to tell us, are we being really hyper-focused? And most importantly, are we getting the results from what marketing we think we're being effective with?
So, for example, I grew up in Boston. I'm a big New England Patriots fan. Apologies to our listeners. I know there are a lot of Patriots haters out there, but I'm also a big Tom Brady fan.
There you go.
We're recording this on Wednesday. There were 2 or 3 podcasts involving Tom Brady that I've been wanting to listen to since Sunday. Well, I hadn't had a chance. Monday, Tuesday, walked the dog this morning, listened while I was walking the dog. So, to your point, it was the content that I wanted. It was waiting for me when I was ready to consume it and when I was an active listener to it. So your point is so well taken there.
Let's just take it one step further too, right? So in my business, in my world, every listener of an advisor wants to work with more professionals around them. And what I'm talking about are the CPA, the attorney, the realtor, the banker, the loan officer, people that have other networks, right?
Yeah.
So what's changed or what's great about doing podcasting, doing webinars, doing digital marketing is instead of waiting around and saying, oh, my phone's going to ring any day because I took that CPA out to lunch and he's going to think about me and he's going to send me somebody today. I just know my phone's going to ring. Here's the difference, right? Now you get a podcast going. Now you bring your CPA and you do a 3-part series or whatever it is. And you have them on. And now once you go to post that, right? Now you're getting all of their branding, co-branding onto yours. If that CPA or that firm's got a big network on LinkedIn and you go and post that and tag them or tag them on Facebook, now you're just opening up the doorways and going right at their clientele. And it's easy. My mom's a CPA. She's owned her own accounting firm for 30 years, right? And mom's tough on getting referrals, right? She is nervous and she gets hit up by advisors all day long.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But what I think is one of the biggest things is my mom's doing her business every single day, right? Her head's down. She's focused on her clientele and bringing the best value she possibly can. Here's what would be a different and unique approach, right? Is to say, hey, I want to educate my clients on the biggest tax topics that are out there. Can you come be my guest? Oh, and guess what happens? The CPA also wants to promote that to their people.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is such great stuff. We should be doing this joint together. And all I'm going to tell you is that these are the new ways to be more effective, to get more referrals, to create better partnerships with more influential people in your network, even fun stuff. What's great about marketing digitally in new age today is if you were really, connected into 501c3 nonprofits.
Sure.
And you worked in a boys club or whatever it is. Now you can bring somebody on from the community. Maybe you bring in a local council member, right? City council member to talk about what's going on. These are new markets, new places of getting involved. And when somebody says, oh, look, there's a new podcast that a city council member's on that I want to listen to about what's going on in my community. And oh, wait, who's the guy hosting this? Oh, wait, what does he do? And now all of a sudden you play into it. That's what's changed.
Marc, we've only got a couple minutes left here in our first episode, and we've talked a lot about digital here because obviously that's where the business is going. But I know you're still helping your clients with live events in person. I know you're racking up the frequent flyer miles. Tell me a little bit about live in-person events and them still having a place in this industry.
Dinner events still work. That's what I would tell somebody. But they've got to be done correctly. So we are now doing more digital on the front end. We're making this really simple where I've got a concierge team that's going to call and interview and weed out the old plate lickers so you're not buying food for people that are just there to eat your food. We're hopefully getting more serious people.
I'd love that term.
But here's what I do differently. I think the industry standard is, John, you're out in Detroit and I'm going to send you the PowerPoint and here's the mailer that you should use and good luck. I really get involved. I really want to make this a success. Most advisors are shelling out $7,000 to $10,000 to do these type of events.
Wow.
And if the little things are done incorrectly, it makes big problems, right? If just the little things, and I'm talking about the way that the room is organized. And now that we're in this world of social distancing and do you have a little bottle of sanitizer on every table?
Yeah.
So I'm talking about, I take care of not only all the little things that make the difference. We work with the restaurant. We have a concierge team that makes the calls and weeds the people out to make sure we're getting the best people in the room. We're delivering all the content that's customized to you. So I've got the handouts and the feedback sheet and all the little things that you need during the presentation. But John, I'll get on a plane and I'll come do it with you.
Love it.
So you will find me every week in an advisor's area. So if I'm coming to Detroit, we'll have 2 or 3 events. I'm actually doing the speaking for you, and I'm hyping you up as my guy in that local area. So you're getting third-party branding and somebody that is a national speaker coming out to your city, working with you hand in hand. But you're also going to learn and pick up, and eventually you're going to do it on your own, and you're going to be successful. But I like to really invest my time and invest my efforts and my staff. And I feel like given the process, it's really showing different results. And I could take a new person, 5 years into the business and make them a success. I can take an old boy, that wants to retool and get better, and we can make him get better. And so I'm really excited about it. I'm passionate about what I do because I think we're in an industry that doesn't get a lot of thank yous. We're sort of selling the ability to help people retire, help Americans retire. I think that there is a great opportunity to be in the service industry and get totally rewarded to seeing people be more successful and helping them and helping their investors, helping more Americans achieve that goal of retirement. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for this podcast and working with you.
Likewise, I've really enjoyed our first full-length conversation here over these last 30 minutes, and that passion really does come through for you, Marc. So if an advisor listening wants to learn more about Producers Prospect, what are the best ways to reach out to you?
Well, a couple of things. So you can go out to our website at producersprospect.com. That's probably the best way, but we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, Producers Prospect. You can always check out me personally on LinkedIn, Marc Rogers, Marcrogers. I don't know what my parents were doing. They tried to misspell both my first and last name. So
easier to find that way, right?
That's right. You can find me on LinkedIn. Plus, you can always call into us. So I've got an 800 number. It's 800-829-5596, 800-829-5596. We can work with you individually that way too.
Great stuff, Marc. Really enjoyed getting to chat with you in our first episode here. Look forward to the next one.
Thanks, John.